Hi guys, this is Mattjestic Gaming here, and welcome to another Dota's auto chess guide. Today we'll be looking at a weekly tier list we'll be making, and this time I felt that it's very nice for us to be making weekly tier lists because updates are happening so frequently, and there's hidden updates that happens before we even notice. So let's dig into the tier list, and I'll go with some change of items as we go as well. So most of you have seen my previous tier list, and in this tier list I won't be going to most units in detail. I'll still highlight a few units I think is still relevant. So as you can see, or even you haven't seen my previous tier list, Anti-Mage and Bounty Hunter are still very much on top. I'm making a tier list simply based on the cost of the units, and let me explain this. I think it's very good that we're actually comparing units regarding within their cost range, because you won't be comparing Anti-Mage and a Tight Hunter. We can do that with a big tier list of everything, but I don't feel that it's informative enough and it's that useful for us, because in the late game no one wants Anti-Mage, everyone wants Tight Hunter unless you're very close to a 3-star Anti-Mage, and in the mid game no one will be looking at those units, everyone will be looking at a 3-star unit or 2-star unit. So I feel that it's very necessary for us to go into the cost of each unit within the tiers, or the tier of each unit within the cost, that is. Got that reversed. So what I still feel like very strong in this current meta is the Bounty Hunter and Anti-Mage. This cost tier for this one cost units are usually from round 1 to round 10. They can go up to round 15, but usually the most uses are around round 1 to round 10. Anti-Mage, Bounty Hunter, I don't need to explain much because we have explained some in the first tier list. What went up here is the Draw Ranger and the Enchantress. I think they went up from the bottom of B and C to A. Why did I do that? It's because right now the Hunter meta is so strong. Despite the fact there's a little undead nerf with the undead synergy, Draw Ranger, 2-star Draw Ranger is very easy to find, very much still, despite the fact people are still taking her, and she can be 2-star quite quickly. And once that combined with the Necro and combined with the Abaddon, all of a sudden you have a great damage, physical damage burst, or you reduce the enemy's physical damage reduction. So previously it's minus 22% of physical damage defense, now it's minus 17%. We just keep that in mind, it's still pretty relevant. And why do I have Enchantress here? This is because to meet the current meta of Elves and Druids and Beasts, which are really rising because the fast pace of the current meta. Right now, someone has asked me on Twitch a few times now, is that what do I think is the strongest 3 kind of builds or 3 different class? I would say Elves in combination with Druids, Elves in combination of Dragons, and Druids in combination of Warriors. When I say Druid, I mean the Beast, by the way. So, and other than that, I think mages are quite strong. So I think Elves, mages, and beasts are quite strong right now in the current meta, simply because they provide so much in the mid game that if you don't match up in the mid game, sometimes you get stomped over. And the alternatives to those are, of course, there's Orc mages, there's Dragon Elves. There's so many variable things we can adjust to make a stronger mid game, and that's why I think Enchantress is up there, because Enchantress is the core to 2 of the very strong current meta builds. I feel like it's necessary, and Enchantress is up there. I don't think there's too much adjustment to the bottom of the list. I don't think those units are really viable for us in the early game. I think those units are quite good. Now keep in mind, Draw Ranger is also up there for one particular thing, and so is Anti-Mage. It's because they are the carriers for the new Mask of Madness. For those that are not aware, Mask of Madness is just recently changed into the Mask of Madness that doesn't minus armor anymore, increase attack speed to 40 and 10% lifesteal. So what Mask of Madness does now is it silences the unit. The unit can't cast, but this doesn't affect your passive. That means the Draw Ranger and the Anti-Mage are the new carriers of Mask of Madness, simply because they don't cast anything, and they're great in terms of, you know, physical damage dealing when they carry Mask of Madness, especially for Draw as well in the backline. So let me double check here. Let's go over here. Now we're going to go to the second tier list. Now, because we're live streaming this, make sure you guys ask me some questions on Twitch, and I'll definitely get back to you once we finish the 5 tier list, and I'll get back to all the questions. Then thank you guys for your patience. Okay, we're looking at the second tier list right now. This second tier list is the 2 cost units. There hasn't been massive amount of changes for the 2 cost units, I feel, because the new units are not introduced here except for the Slug. Beastmaster is still very much my top priority, simply because he's one of the only units in the 2 cost unit range that does physical AoE damage, and he amplifies his own auto attack damage, and he's got a great synergy with Ox, and despite the fact the Ox were nerfed a little bit, I don't think that would nerf is that relevant, because 50 health, it's something, but it's not that big. After Beastmaster, what you also notice, same as before, I have my 3 nukers. The Queen of Pain, Timbersaw, and Juggernaut. Juggernaut is not a big nuker, but sustained magical damage AoE. So I'm really big fan of AoE damage. Now, the only unit I want to touch up here is Slug. Slug was changed from a 3-star to a 2-star. Slug lost 5 of his armor, a bit of his damage, a bit of his health. The positive side is, if you get a 2-star Slug before round 15, he's still very relevant, simply because a 2-star Slug would disarm. By the way, the new skill for the Slug is Disarm. He will leap at the enemy, and the enemy he leaps at will be disarmed for 3 seconds or 5 seconds, depending on Slug's level for level 1, level 2. We won't look at level 3 Slug because 8 seconds, it's great, but it's a bit too far away. So for level 2 Slug, it's 8 seconds CD for I think about 200-ish damage for the disarm, physical damage, but single target, and it will disarm for 5 seconds. That means before round 15, a Slug can basically solo a unit and run around the unit and make loops around it because it can't attack the Slug. The downside for a Slug is no armor, very hard to gain mana, and very item dependent, but you don't want to. Now, Slug is very item dependent, same as before. The downside is, previously, if you give Slug stuff with good items, he can really carry you even in the late game as a 2 or 3-star. Now, giving item to the Slug is not that viable because he is not your late game carry anymore. He's just there to fill the Night Assassin slot. So I feel like Slug is really relevant before round 15, maybe till round 20, but after that he really falls off as a 2-star unit. What we're going to do is now we're going to look at the 3 cost unit. Notice how the icons have changed. This is due to the fact the usual maker for the tier list I like to use have more pictures I like, but unfortunately they didn't update their icons to adjust for the new units that was introduced. And the news here being the Mirana, which looks like a little white tiger. So I'll walk you through the units in case you guys are unfamiliar with the icons as well. This is Razor, Lycan, Sand King, Shadowfiend, Terrorblade, Venomancer, Mirana, Windrunner, Omni, Abaddon, Riki, Sniper, Lina, Phantom Assassin, and Viper. So yeah, let's have a look. Compared to previously, I have changed my tier list slightly a bit to adjust for some of the new meta popular builds of the mid-game races. As you can see, the Sand King is up there on the A list simply because being a beast and being an assassin. There's so many assassins out there, it's so easy to get Sand King as part of your 3 assassin or 6 assassin, and I feel that Sand King is a core assassin, simply being a 3-star, having 10 armor as assassin, and being able to stun multiple targets with some kind of luck, I assume. Most of the time he will stun at least 1, and half the time he will stun 2 to 3, other times he just stun nothing. But yeah, it's a bit of RNG dependent, but Sand King is a great tank for the assassins, and you can put him in the front line. He's a mini Tide, how it feels like, and he's really relevant at 2-star. 3-star, he's incredible. The 3 unit I'm keeping at A is same as before, simply because the great value potential. Shadowfiend for his AoE, Lycan for his wolves, and Terrorblade for his abilities to exchange health. In case you guys weren't aware, they updated Terrorblade to exchange health when he transforms with an ally. If he exchanges health with the highest HP ally, that means he'll go back to full health. And a 2-star Terrorblade is very relevant before round 20. Now, I made a special list between A and B simply because I feel that Venomancer, because of the latest update to Venomancer's Plague Work that slows attack speed by 0.3 when it hits the enemy, it's very relevant. Venomancer previously was very underrated, I feel. With some items, he can do incredible things. Now, Venomancer is even better, simply because the beast meta is so relevant. They try to nerf the beast meta into 3 and 6 beast, then they bring it back again. I'm not sure what the idea was behind that, but right now beasts are very relevant. They are one of the stronger counters. They can be a part of the druids, because half of the druids are beast, half of the druids are actually elves. So what this means is some of the units that was in elves are actually going up simply because of the current meta. So Venomancer, Mirana, and Windrunner I feel is between A and B. Why do I have Omni and Abaddon here? Is because I feel that one of the unspoken heroes or the unspoken synergies is actually knights. When you have 4 knights, you really counter elves hard. And in a few games I tested today, I felt that 4 knights or 6 knights can really counter elves really hard. But what they don't counter is beast, because beast will be summoning while they whittle down the knights. So I think Omni and Abaddon can be between A and B simply for the base 10 armor, for the ability to nuke for Omni, great nuke damage, and Abaddon for his ability in the undead team. Sometimes when you find Abaddon so early with the Draw Ranger, you just watch your enemy melt with the minus armor. Ricky is not very high, simply for his 0 armor, and well, he's still in B range. Simply for his 0 armor, his utility comes in hiding your bench. Well, half of the time I'm a little blinded by Ricky when my bench is hidden. I'm more used to it now, and previously I was having trouble to see what units are. He's great for the meta game in the late game, because you don't want to show what you're hiding, what you're planning to change, which is great. Downside is, Ricky at 2-star is not that relevant because he doesn't gain mana that fast. Despite the fact we try to run him in 6 SS and 9 SS, he just doesn't gain mana as fast. That means he has to take damage. When he takes damage, most of the time he would just get his spell off before he dies as a 2-star. Half of the time he won't get his spell off. And I felt his spell is it looks great on paper, but when I tested it out, it feels underrated. It feels underwhelming, that is, because as assassin he's not bursting down units, he's not controlling, he's not providing that much. He's providing evasion, I agree, but half the time the enemy units are AoEs, or half the time assassin really dies to stuns instead of melee attacks or physical attacks. And here, the Lina, the Phantom, and the Viper are both situational, that's why they're down here. And I really am not a big fan of Phantom, because if you're assassin, you're critting, you don't need more critical, especially when assassins are buffed with the hoarding. Now, hey guys, we're getting into the 4-cost range. I think this is actually one of the most crucial tier list compared to the other tier list. I think the most crucial tier list are the 1-cost, the 2-cost, and the 4-cost. For particular reason being, sometimes when you have one of your 4-cost, everything changes. The whole game set changes. When you have your Dragon Knight with the Knights, it changes so much. When you have your Troll in the Trolls, it changes so much. But the reason they're in B range instead of higher is that other than running a particular build, no one needs them. And what I want with my tier list is more generic. I want units that where everyone's going to want. I want units that's going to be popular with most of the builds. And that's why Disruptor, Conquer, and Lone Druid is top of my tier list. I have explained why Disruptor is top for his ability to be an initiator. I'm starting to favor Conquer in most of my builds simply for having 900 close to 1000 HP, having 10 armor, and the ability to get his bolt out most of the time before round 20 and half of the time after round 20 with a good positioning. Lone Druid is so great. He's so great for elves, he's so great for druids, so great for beasts, and such a value unit that we just can't say no to Lone Druid. Even sometimes at 1-star he's so great, but at 2-star he's terrific, and 3-star he's so much HP, such a good summon, and he can tank, he can do damage. I can keep going on about Lone Druid. What I really want to highlight is the rise of the undead. Necro is up in the A list. Deuce is here for her disabling skills and her combination with Tide because of the Naga buffs. And we all know Templar is pretty high, and Doom, they serve particular purpose. Templar is the tank assassin, I call her, and they come from my Twitch chat as well. Very good names. And Doom is just great because he can be a counter to an initiator if he gets his spells off quickly. What I really want to highlight is this sad little guy over here, which is we'll call Alchemist. As you might have seen, I have made a few really nice alchemist videos where we leveled alchemists or someone leveled alchemists to 3-star with good items. But unfortunately, other than that, other than goblins, no one really wants alchemists anymore. What I can foresee, and I can guarantee you that next update, alchemist will be the unit to see. He will be buffed. By how much, I'm not sure, but he's definitely getting his 5 armor back. I can guarantee that. Alchemist went from 5 armor to 0 armor. Alchemist SS Spray became Chemical Rage, which is terrible at level 1 and level 2 because it's low armor. At level 2, my Alchemist can't even survive compared to a Tinker. 2-star Tinker or 2-star Clockwork or 2-star Timber in my Goblin lineup, simply because he has no armor. His regeneration takes a while to kick in, while the other units have Merc regeneration even at the start of the game. He needs his mana, his item dependent, and at 2-star Alchemist is not that great. And most of the lineup that used to run Alchemist, say the Draw line, the Undead lineup that needs minus armor, or the Troll lineup that needs a Warlock and minus armor, is ignoring Alchemist. You might say that this is a good thing for Alchemist because no one wants Alchemist. Yeah, you can think it this way, and that's why we found so many 3-star Alchemists with our really fun Alchemist Madness lineup. Maintenance builds with the Goblins. But yeah, other than that, no other build is going to touch Alchemist. And for a generic build order, I feel that the Alchemist is really down there as low as he can be right now. He's in a terrible position. But you know, it's okay for Goblins because we still love him. Hey guys, we're going to look at the 5 cost unit. Now, it's hard to say which 5 cost unit goes higher or which 5 cost unit goes lower. I'm pretty sure Tide will be on top of most people's list. And other than that, I think the other 4 legendaries are still pretty highly recommended, simply for their burst potential or their utility or the ability to be slowing, ability to do massive AoE. And I won't touch on that too much. The only thing I want to touch on is Enigma and Death Prophet. Enigma is not on my S tier list simply because he's a bit situational. If Tide gets his spells off, that's it, you don't need to worry about it. Similar with Tekis, Lich and Jaro. With Enigma, if he gets his spell off, if the enemy is not sustained in that circle of pool of pure damage, they get away, then you lose a lot of your damage potential. 1-star Enigma sometimes dies before he gets his spells off, because he can't get enough mana, because he can't tank enough. A 2-star Enigma is perfect, and it's so good against PvE monsters, against knights, against goblins. So Enigma is really high, but it's not so high that I would take him to S, simply because the fact situational units like Enigma really needs the enemies to stay in the pool, or really need to cast the pool early. If it's too late, often I see Enigma standing there casting the pool and my whole team's dead, and that won't work. Now for the Death Prophet, which is the highlight of today's tier list as well. I also go back to the Mirana to highlight Mirana, because I think I touch a bit on the Ricky. For the Death Prophet, I feel like the Death Prophet is great. It's a Warlock, it's undead, it's going to give us lifesteal and minus armor. The downside with Warlock is what I'm looking at is the times when you just find a Warlock when you're level 8 or level 9, you just have one DP that you find. Being one star, the DP have no armor, only 900 each health, and pretty low attack damage and attack speed. What that means is DP is not going to recharge mana as fast, and the DP is not going to be surviving long enough if it takes damage to recharge mana. So it becomes one of those units that you'd be like, hey, I'm winning and my DP cast her ultimate, that's great. But if I'm winning, I don't really need my DP. If you're losing, the DP can't survive long enough for her damage to be output. She needs 10 seconds for her damage to be output, and that just makes it her awkward legendary for me. So that's why she's currently the lowest legendary. But again, she's situational. In lineups that doesn't have assassins, or lineups you're really tanky, or lineups with minus armor, she's great. And she's so easy to be combined with Lich for physical and magical lineup. So I'm not saying that she's not great, but I'm saying that she's more item, 2-star dependent, and unit composition dependent. Because this tier list is more for a generic, for wide audience, sometimes when you just see a Death Prophet, you'll be asking yourself, is Death Prophet better than my Death Prophet better than my 1-star Conquer? And if that question comes in mind, it really makes me wonder, because if Conquer gets his bolt out, and if Death Prophet don't survive long enough, I could take Conquer instead of Death Prophet. And sometimes you go, hey, this is a legendary, do I need that profit? If you're asking yourself this question, then that means she's not top of the tier list for me. That's the case. I really want to touch up on the Mirana because we went a little quicker on her. I feel that Mirana deserves this spot, not only being a hunter, being an elf, and also being her utility to assist you with offense and defense. The skill of Mirana is very interesting. She shoots arrow across the map when at the map you are attacking on the map you're defending. And I have explained this in my new units update. I won't go too much further, but I feel that a 2-star Mirana will be great before round 20. She really falls off after round 25, so we need to keep in mind of that. And what I'll do is I'll do a summary up with the tier list. I'll stay on the 1 cost unit. To summarize this tier list, a few things have changed recently, simply being having elves, druids, which are elves and beasts, and mages on the rise currently in the current meta, simply because the ability to counter each other, the ability to fasten the round and the game ends before round 35, and the ability to really powerhouse through most of the other builds before you find your core units. Some of the old school builds are still out there, say trolls, say knights, goblins still out there, but they really require some of the key pieces to be filled. While the elves, the beast, and the mages, they can be more versatile. They can take orcs, they can take a few goblins, they can take dragons, and that's the reason they're really high. Hopefully this tier list is very helpful to you, as it is helpful to me and most of us on Twitch. So thank you guys so much for watching, and please let me know in the comments below or on Twitch chat what do you think of my tier list. And yes, I'll definitely be keen to hear you out. So guys on YouTube, please remember to subscribe and like, and please remember to click the little bell next to subscribe. It really helps me as a new YouTuber, and I really appreciate so much for your support, guys. And thank you again. I'll see you guys next time.